Alright everybody, welcome back to the video. Today is Discord Fridays and it's casual as always. I just need to keep mentioning that because I don't want people to forget that. So this is casual Fridays, and then Sundays is our more competitive builds where we do a little bit more crazy stuff. But according to the suggestions on the Discord, you guys wanted to see a siding video because it is quite challenging, and quite a while this year I actually struggled with siding myself. So I decided to, rather than go crazy and try and, have this awesome siding like ritual, if you will, of what you want to do, rather go for a simple approach where you set up your sideboard according to the matchups you're most likely going to face, and then you have obviously in your main deck the things that are more prevalent. So example, Telement, right? So in our main deck we are running DD Crows, right? Because one of the more common matchups, right? Because it's the tier 0 deck. But one thing I'll mention is try and keep to ratios of three of the same card, unless you absolutely cannot. Then you can create variants, but try and keep 3 3 3 3 because it just makes your life a little easier. Or if you're running like the heavy hand trap build that we used to run, and I am still missing that build, I think I want to go back to that with Ash, Vela, Ogre, and all that kind of stuff. You can run 2 of each so you can have more variants. But then the problem with that build is the fact that you start to lose consistency in the fact that you don't see combo pieces, but you see a lot of hand traps. So you can shut down boards or minimize boards, but then you'll have no follow-up. But anyway, looking at my sideboard, I'm going to show you what is on my sideboard. You can change this according to yours, doesn't really matter. It just it shows you how to actually sideboard. So I'm running in variants of 3s, right? So for example, I know Fluanderies is a problem, right? And I can't get my hands on zombie wolves. So I'm running 3 artifact Lancia. So that will just slow down Fluanderies quite a lot. And then for like the runic plays and like the more spell heavy decks, we're running 3 back row removal. So like for example, here it's not 3 of the same. So it's not 3 Cosmic Cyclones or 3 MSTs. But the point is it's still 3 spot removals. So you want to keep it in variants of 3s, right? So you've got 3 of that, and then if I can't out something, so for example if there's a towers or something that is really hard to out and my board can't deal with it, I'll just play 3 kaijus, right? And I use Radiant because I don't have Gamma Seals at the moment. I only have 1, so Radiant is the next best option, and it's a dark. So in the previous format I was good with Chaos Ruler, but now that Bestials are running crazy, this might not be the best. Rather opt for Gamma Seals. And then for the more rogue options, the best way to deal with the board going seconds especially, 3 Dark Ruler for rogue, and then just 2 Raigeki. I'd run a 3rd Raigeki if I had one, but I don't. So basically these 2 in your hand is just a game changer for rogue, because you can go Dark Ruler, Raigeki, just clear an entire board, and it's not tier, so you don't have to worry about things triggering in the graveyard. And then because we're a pure synchro deck, 1 Gravity Collapse for if you know you're going first, because you'll set up your board, set the Gravity Collapse on their turn. You don't even have to bother with negates. You just flip the Gravity Collapse, and that's usually a game, and they'll just scoop. So that's the side deck. In the main board, the cards that I'm running, so obviously you have your build, and then for me I have what I call the hand trap segment, where I'll run things that you can side out usually. So I run 3 DD Crow, and because I don't have 3 Imperms, I'm running 1 Imperm, 1 Chalice, which is a pseudo Imperm, and my spice tech is Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood. So these are basically the 6 that I would have, that I would usually side out with. For depending on the matchup. So if I'm going against Flu, DD Crow is not going to do anything for me, so I'd side in the Lanciers. And then if I'm going first, if I know I'm going first, I'll side out the Dogwood. I'll put in a Gravity Collapse. So that just sorts out the one-offs. And then the Raigekis would be these 2, and then the Dark Ruler would be these again, and then Kaiju go. So you can see how it sort of works. So if you don't really want to side these out and you still want to keep these in the deck, I have slots where I'm playing utility cards, right? Oh, I call it utility, but so you obviously have your 3 tunings, and sometimes you don't really need 3. So if you're siding, you can remove 1, and then that'll give you an extra slot for whatever you want to side in. So you can leave 2 in, remove 1. Or, so for example, for this build I'm running Called By and Majesty's Fiend, right? So depending on the matchup, you can remove these 2 instead of the hand traps that you're running. Just remove these 2 and opt for more side deck options. So it's just a quick, this is just showing you what I would use to side in. I wouldn't really want to touch anything else in the deck. Like Starter Synchron, Junk Synchron, you don't want to touch that. Trail is very important to combo, you don't ever remove that. Meme, I don't suggest you remove that. The level 2s, the non-tuners that you don't really want to touch. If you really want to. you can remove one Caligo and run 2 Caligos instead. And then if you're siding, remove 1 Caligo and then have more options. But again, I don't really recommend that because you're removing a consistency piece that'll help you reach speeder and combo off. So those are the things you don't really want to remove. I'd rather opt to remove utility cards. Like I said, tuning you still want to keep to remove 1, but mainly the stuff that you mainly side out are your hand trap segments. So obviously you built your own deck. You know what hand traps you're main boarding, the stuff that's prevalent. For example, T elements. This is what you usually want to touch with for your side deck. So yeah, and like I said, you usually want to run things in 3s. So look, 3, and then for the one also Ghost Sister outside, and for Gravity Collapse, Dark Ruler, you just side in 3 here. And then if I'm going against, like I said, if this is Rogue, the Turageki for the Forbidden Chalice and the Imperm. And then Kaijus in case I can't out anything. And then the MSTs in the back row removal. So that's how I would side. It just makes my life a little bit easier because I know I'm running in variants of 3s. So I don't confuse myself, and then when I'm siding, I don't make misplays where I add too many cards or remove too many cards, because if you're in a regionals or states tournament, you can get heavily penalized for that. I think it's even a game loss, because if your opponent catches it, then yeah, there is a problem there. So always be safe and always know beforehand. Plan this out before you go for even a locals. Just plan it out and test it at home. Play test your deck, and then like pretend that you're siding, and then just pretend to side, because remember, like this, we're sitting on the table and we took out the cards and we know what to side. In an actual locals, you're literally going through your deck like this. You find the card, you take it out, you put in another card, so it's not always in the same spot, so you can lose your mind there. So always just practice it at home so you get confident with it, right? Because that's the one thing you never want to have in any Yu-Gi-Oh sort of game state or competitive game state. You don't want to lose confidence. You don't want to feel overwhelmed. That's the biggest thing. So if you can build up your confidence in your siding, it just makes your life so much easier. There's less stress on your mind, and you just go into your matches with that confidence, and you know, like, I'm gonna rev things up, I'm gonna synchro off, I'm just gonna blow my opponent out of the water with this heavy synchron build. Because the fun thing about this is no one expects you to play a synchron deck, or no one actually expects this kind of deck, because no one knows what it does unless you've been playing at your locals for a long time and your opponent knows, like, or the people then know that you're a synchron player. But then even on top of that, you're always updating the deck, so like it's always changing. So your opponent thinks you'll end on something, or they know from like a previous local that you'll end on this match or this board or something like that, and then you completely change it. Like for example, I'm playing the Kashtira's now. Before, in the past, I was playing the Exodia stuff, and before that we were playing the Chaos Ruler stuff, and then like it's always changing, and it's so fun. So yeah, that's all I have to showcase to you guys today. This is just to help you sideboard. And in terms of the extra deck, if you are siding, like for example Shinshin and Omega, that's a little bit more complex because it's adding more layers on top of what you have to side. I don't recommend doing that. I suggest keeping your extra deck the same, and maybe if you want to just do one. So for example the Shinshin Omega, don't go crazy with everything else. But yeah, that's all I have to showcase to you guys today. If you liked it, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys on... Well, I don't know if I'm going to be uploading on Sunday because New Year's and all that kind of stuff. So maybe the next Friday after that or Sunday. But that's all from me today, guys. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.